Hi everyone, welcome back to Learnosity's webinar series. Thanks for joining us today for our first long-term support webinar of 2021. My name is Michael Sharman, I'm the Director of Product at Learnosity and I'm based in our Sydney office down in Australia. Just some quick housekeeping notes as we always do in these series. Firstly, you're on mute, but if you've got any questions throughout the webinar, please ask them via the control panel. A member of the team will respond to any questions that you have via email after the webinar. And customers can log a support ticket through our portal at help.learnosity.com with any follow-up questions that you might have. And if you're not a customer, you can always drop us an email at marketing@learnosity.com. And anyone who has registered for this webinar will be sent the recording this week. So in today's webinar, we will be looking at all the features from our latest long-term support release, which is 2021.1.LTS. I'm sure we'll all agree last year was a crazy year full of unparalleled disruption for global learning, and there are millions and millions of users that have now moved online for their assessment experience. And if authors are going to reach as many of those learners as possible, they really need to get the best tools they can. And that's why our first long-term support this year is full of features and updates, and they're designed to enhance more of the flexibility and to reduce friction for content creators. And we have more coming up through the release in June and the release in October this year. We're very proud, as we always are, of the advances made in the area of accessibility and especially authoring. So let's briefly run through what features we've released on the 24th of February for accessibility, for assessment, authoring, and data and analytics. So firstly, for accessibility, we increased the capability to create accessible content. We'll be talking a little bit about a tag further on. 6 more of our question types are now accessible. We made a lot of enhancements to the assessment player. And we also updated our VPAT, our voluntary product accessibility template. That's now at version 2. And if you're interested in that, you can reach out to our customer success team. For authoring, we had more flexibility around being able to set items in a read-only state. We added enhanced access control around the bulk features update. That's in our hosted Learnosity author site. And we've added some capabilities to move questions around using the keyboard, so more for users who like to use the keyboard for a speedier workflow. On the assessment side of things, we introduced a new icon set and we consolidated a lot of the color palettes that might be more targeted to the developers on your teams. We did some accessibility improvements to the player and to question types, as we spoke about on the accessibility slide, and of course dozens of bug fixes and polishes, always looking to stabilize the platform. In the data and analytics area, our session rescoring now supports dynamic content, and our response analysis report also supports sessions that have been rescored. So firstly, let's give you a closer look at our accessibility release. So we've given authors more control and flexibility when creating accessible content within the authoring environment. This is of course guided by the Authoring Tool Accessibility Guidelines, or ATAG. So we've added numerous authoring enhancements to help your authoring teams create more inclusive learning experiences. So we've added additional screen reader support and ARIA label customizations. So to be inclusive and considerate of users with different abilities, that's one of Learnosity's 7 principles of product design. And we want to ensure that inclusivity is baked into our process. And a recent example of that commitment is that we've extended full accessibility support to more of our question types, 6 more of our question types, as well as making numerous improvements to the assessment player. We've also, as I said, updated our VPAT to give you the most up-to-date view of how we measure, how we self-review that we measure to the highest standards that we set for ourselves every day. Again, if you're interested in that VPAT document, please reach out to your customer success representative. Next up, let's take a look at our new authoring features. We're enabling authoring administrators to take more control of their content. You can now protect items from unwanted or mistaken edits by putting items into a read-only mode. This can be at the entire item bank level or at a per item level using tags. And this means that authors can create their own content, but without having the ability to edit content created by others. You can also choose to enable the ability to duplicate items that have been set as read-only, so authors can make their own copies without the restriction of not being able to access them at all. Let's have a little bit of a demo, a little bit of a quick look at a demo of what this looks like. So what we have here is our authoring API, and we're looking at a list of items. Now what I can do is I can create a new item. I can come in and choose my question as I might normally do and save that. I'll also show you quickly going in to edit an existing item. Now, as you can see here, I can come in and edit these questions if I see fit. However, in this instance, we've set a tag, and in this case, we've called it locked, and it's got a value of true. Now, this can be set to anything you want. You can use a combination of tags, either tags or the whole bank. In this instance, I'm looking at a single item that has been tagged to be locked. So when the author comes in, I can't edit this item. There is no edit icons, there's no remove icons. I can't add anything to it. It is locked. Save is locked out. But in this instance, I can duplicate it. Again, that can be configured. You might not want that. But this is a lot of flexibility around locking items to have safety for different groups of your content authors. In our hosted author site, we have bulk updates. That's where you can select multiple items and choose to update either the status or apply tags to them. Now, this can save a lot of time, but it also can have the potential to accidentally break live content. You can now reduce this risk by only assigning bulk updates to certain permissions and specific users via permission groups. We've started down the process and the progress of being able to control our item layer in the authoring experience using the keyboard. So right now it's more around power users who want to rearrange widgets around the item structure. It could be column 1 to column 2, or changing the vertical stacking of questions. You can now do this via keyboard control, and it should enable quicker and more efficient content creation. And we're doing more in this area, so watch out for that in the coming LTS releases. Let's move on to our assessment area. So we have improved our consistency across the authoring and assessment user interfaces, and we've done this by consolidating and refreshing our icon set. A subtle difference, but hopefully you recognize a refreshed look. We've also refined our color palette. Internally, we are looking at a design system, and we hope this is something that could be available to customer developers who might be looking to override the user interface elements within our platform. But for today, we're using it internally, and we've done a lot of consolidation around the colors there. Big cleanup, and this is going to be a more systematic way that colors are adopted in future. Again, that you guys can take advantage of as time progresses. And lastly, our data and analytics release will look at how we've extended support for one of our more popular releases recently, and that is the rescoring. So when scoring logic is set incorrectly on an exam or an assessment, the rescoring logic that we released a little while ago lets you easily adjust the validation rules, get the right results if they were mistakenly done, and then rescore. It used to be very, very complex for customers to do this themselves with their own rescoring logic. Now we have support for this with dynamic content. So that's items that have dynamic content set up. You can rescore dynamic content as simply as you can any other content, and that will save you a lot of time and development hours. More again on rescoring, if a teacher or an instructor authors a fix for a live item, then there'll be a mix of students who saw the old or the original version and others who are seeing the new item. And that was a problem for the response analysis report. which originally could only work when all the students saw exactly the same content. We fixed this. It's now no longer the case. The response analysis report can now treat rescored items as the same one as seen by the student. This means you can rescore the entire class and the report will automatically display the updated validation rules that the teacher, the instructor, the author has done in the item bank. That concludes our general overview of the first long-term support release for 2021. We're already, of course, working on the next long-term support release, and that's going to be out in June this year, around 4 months' time. And the one following that will be October. Thanks for attending today, brief one today. If you have any questions, you can log a ticket if you're a customer at help.learnosity.com. And if you're not a customer, then please email marketing@learnosity.com. If you've already asked a question, we will follow up via email shortly. And of course, we look forward to hearing from you, and I will see you next time.